We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
From the hills of Strawberry Canyon, I'm Coin Dang, and this is the Golden Bear Cast. Let's go. Go Bears.
What is up, Cal fans? We are back with another episode of the California Golden Bear Cast, a proud partner of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. We just beat Oregon State, and we beat them soundly. Rob, what's up? How you doing? Co-host, what's going on?
I am what? How far off from the win are we? We won like a little over 24 hours ago, like 48 hours ago, right? Just about 8:44. It's about 48 hours ago.
2 small days.
Yeah. And it still feels good. I called Nam on the way home on Saturday, and we're having a little chat, and he goes, "Enjoy the win. You get 24 hours. And I was like, why are you giving me Coach Wilcox coach speak? Like on a phone call? Like, why are you doing this right now? And he actually referenced that conversation in his novel this week too, which I thought was hilarious. But I'm still enjoying the win, man. It's I was thoroughly excited afterwards. You and I both. We had a great just end of the night. I enjoyed my Sunday. I think you enjoyed your Sunday as well. You were out, enjoying concerts outdoors for the first time in quite some time.
Really counting on my Pfizer vaccine.
Yeah.
Big time. I was just thinking about it today. I'm like, wow, keep chugging along, little Pfizer vaccine. All of my friends that I was out there with, it was like, yeah, I got COVID. The other one was like, yeah, I got COVID. I didn't want to tell you. I was like, what the hell have you guys been doing in the city? And then I'm over there. I'm like, all right, I'm surrounded by 70,000 people right now. Come on, little Pfizer vaccine. You got this.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Besides that, I was at a small Halloween party. Not 70,000, more like 25 people. But that was our weekend. And now we're on Monday morning and we're recording this. And I got to say, still feels good. Still feels good.
I already looked at the line for next week. I was like, -11. That feels good too.
It does feel good. But we can talk about that in a little bit because whenever we'll talk about exercising some demons and some demons that we do need to exercise when we enter that state of Arizona. It's like in Lion King. That's like the land you don't go, Simba. Like everything that the sunshine touches is yours, except for that state of Arizona. Not allowed to go there.
Such a good reference. That was amazing. Take us to Lion King, Rob. Okay, so I wanted to start with the opportunity for you to talk about what made this day so special. And I feel like there's 3 kind of key segments here.
Got it.
We had the Homefield Apparel launch drop extravaganza. Goodbye money, hello, dopes, really dope. Collateral or merch, if you will. Second, we had the tailgate, which includes some other things I'm not going to spoil, and then we can go to the game. So it doesn't have to be in that order, but I would love to hear exclusively, not mine, your thoughts on the preamble to the Oregon State game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to write this as a post, but I feel like the audio version might do it better justice because I think for me personally, I think I'm better speaking than I am a writer. So let's start at the top. Let's give you a little timeline, right? Let's take a little travel back in time. 1 week ago to the day, I wake up Monday morning and I see an email I see a DM from Homefield Apparel, and they're like, "Hey, we're launching our Cal line on Saturday. Still a secret. Well, not anymore, but at the time, and we wanted to do a little partnership with you guys and get it all started and kick it off." And I was like, "Oh dear God, yes please, yes please." And it took a little bit. It took about a week to like get all the T's crossed and the I's dotted and everything signed and delivered. And come Friday is like when it all culminated, and they were like, "Yeah, you guys can start promoting the coupon code that you got." And they like said that they were launching it like I think on Wednesday, and then we got to announce that we had a partnership with them on Friday, and then the line drops I think 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. on Saturday morning, and it just goes wild. And it was so cool to be part of that entire week leading up to, like, you know, it was like just all these things under wraps. Like I saw a bunch of the designs before anyone else had, and I was like, people are gonna love this. Like people are gonna absolutely eat this up. And like I know you've made your order. You made a significant order for parents and yourself and all that. And I have also made a significant order. And yeah, so it's been super cool. At least just taking that in its own little vacuum, right? Being a part of that, you know, if you've been living under a rock and you don't know about this, Homefield Apparel is a big brand from the Midwest, and they do a lot of retro designs, right? For college football teams. And they buy the licensing and acquire it and start working on certain schools. And Cal fans have been clamoring, at least the guys that follow Homefield Apparel have been clamoring for a Cal line. And it finally drops. You can take a look at the designs on homefieldapparel.com. It's super sick. All the Oski stuff. There's some Oski stuff. I was talking to this with, who's I talking to this about? But I can't remember. But basically what I was saying is there's Oski designs in there. And granted, my Cal knowledge only goes back so far. But some of the Oski designs are ones I have never seen before. Like the Oski Wow Wow and the Defend the Haas Oski, like where he's walking sideways, like the caricature one. Like I had never seen that Oski before. And I was like, we had that in the catalog and we've never used it before. Like, man, come on. What are you guys doing? Get that marketing out there. And so, yeah, the shirts are great. The hoodies are great. Like I ordered the crew neck hoodie that has the Bears font across the chest. It's like that old school Bears, like the Jason Kidd era of like basketball jerseys, like Bears across. And so, yeah, it's absolutely stellar. And so once again, if you're living under a rock, if you follow Right for California, the code is Right for Cal, and it gets you 15% off your first order. It would mean a lot if you guys use the code. Plus, because it gives you 15% off. But we're trying to also help amplify their brand within the Cal community. And maybe the more we buy brings along maybe another collection of Cal stuff that they launch later down the road. That's a big maybe. But it would be nice. Like they have, I think, 13 designs up there. I would love more. I would absolutely love more. And I would buy more. And I think Andy the same. Andy, what did you think about the Homefield Apparel stuff?
Well, I think something that's really cool about them, you did a great job covering it, was that they really take the time to get to know the story and the university that they're partnering with in a way that almost Under Armour did a good job with on the initial release, but then has obviously done a less and less and less good job every single year. and now Under Armour is basically obsolete. And so something like this comes in, it's like, we're also a fan base that has been starved of innovative designs for a while now. So just to have someone that's actually thinking that way, hey, we want to actually partner with you, we want to capture the actual essence of what Cal is. I felt like they really did a good job with that. You know, some of the shirts of like, you know, you tell the whole damn world this is bear territory. Like, I bought that one for myself because, you know, it's something that I say all the time, but it's not something that I necessarily have ever had written down on a shirt. I'm not a big like words on shirt type of guy anyways. I'll rock that any day of the week. And then I bought a lot, but it was great. I remember distinctly like waking up early, and it was like 8 and it dropped. And so I was like up really early before I wanted to be up. I was supposed to play at a tennis tournament, and instead I was just buying Cal gear. And it just kicked the day off in a really great way. You know, it just felt like I immediately tweeted about it. Homefield immediately retweeted that. Like, it just, you know, it just kept going. And like the momentum from that really never stopped until, you know, I think Saturday night. And even Saturday night, you could carry that kind of the happy vibes through the rest of the weekend and even today. So, you know, huge things here. I think I think they were pleased from what I could tell based on their on their Twitter feed that, you know, with the response. And I'm sure there's people out there that aren't on Twitter that don't know about this, and then we'll get to check it out. I know I told my buddy about it who went to law school at Cal. And he said that after I told him about it, another friend of his had mentioned that he should buy some stuff. So he just sort of knew it was going beyond just us, like just people that were really paying attention. So hopefully that continues. And then as far as us going forward, I think that, you know, there's an opportunity here to look at what's happened and, you know, see it, you know, it would be awesome if Homefield could just take over, but I don't know if they actually do any of that stuff. And, but it just gives me, I still think like Jordan Brand is now back to being like top of my list for apparel for us, a la Michigan. But yeah, great start to the day. So take us. All right. So there we go. That happens. This is like 8 to 9 a.m. Pacific. All right. Then at 11 a.m. or 11:30 a.m. Pacific, we pick it back up and we go back to Rob. What are you doing? Where are you and why?
I am heading out of the house. I'm heading to our tailgate because Pac-12 Network had decided to come down, film our tailgate, and have like an entire segment in the Pac-12 pregame like tailgate segment that airs like an hour before their game or like their wherever they're hosting from. And so let me take you back a little bit further and how that came about. So I get a DM from Ashley Adamson, Pac-12 Network host, both to myself and Avi. It wasn't just to me. And she was like, "Hey guys, we're heading to Berkeley this week. You know, the first thing is she was like, you know, what ideas do you guys have for like costumes and such?" And Avi gave out the great idea of you guys should be Care Bears, which is what led to that hilarious picture of Nigel Burton, like with the straight face wearing a Care Bear costume on set, and he does not look happy. Absolutely great picture of all time. And Avi was the Kickstarter for all of that. And then she's like, what else can we do to like help amplify you guys? And like, what can we do? And, you know, I was like, I couldn't think of anything off the top of my head. And I was just like, you guys can stop by the tailgate and like take B-roll if you want. Cause you know, like you see a college football game on TV and you usually get like the B-roll, like as it cuts to a timeout or something. And it's like somebody grilling, you know, like a hot dog, like it does. Any sports game you watch, you've seen those B-roll cuts.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
any sports
absolutely.
game.
Yep.
And so I was like, yeah, you guys can come down and, you know, we could definitely help you out and, you know, all of that. And even with that, actually just like throughout the week was like, what else can we do? And we were like, yeah, we can help you out with some stats. You know, like we can give you some stats. We can give you some like fun things to read off the air. And Peter and Christopher H, both awesome writers on the site. They both said, hey, here's some like interesting stats you guys can read on the air. And we sent all of that over. I haven't been able to watch the pregame or the postgame, so I don't know to what extent they used any of those. But I know I know that Ashley had them on hand. So they had all of that, and they were going to use that and you know, just kind of anecdotally talk about us to be like, yeah, the guys from Redford, California, like mentioned this, that, and, you know, so on. And then now fast forward to Friday. So the day before the game, I had planned to meet up with Ashley Adamson to give her a Right for Cal sweater, right? Because she was so kind to us the entire week. And as I'm going to meet Ashley, she texts me and says, hey, okay, sorry, a little bit further back. I got a text message from Ashley earlier on like Thursday-ish saying that one of the cameramen might not be able to make it, so they might not have time to come and shoot the segment at our tailgate. And I was like, yeah, that's perfectly fine, like whatever works. Now, fast forward back to Friday, and I'm going to meet her, and she texts me saying, hey, the cameraman's like good to go. Like, we're going to come to the tailgate. Let me set you up with the producer who's going to come down to film. Only for me to find out that it wasn't that they were coming to film B-roll. They were actually coming to film an entire segment. So I make phone calls, like calling all the guys that like help set up the tailgate. And I'm like, guys, all hands on deck. Like, this is not just B-roll. Like, we're being filmed and we're going to be on like Pac-12 Network. And so they frantically like got more food. Like, they set up all of that. Of course, our chef Rico did an amazing job with the setup and the spread.
Can verify.
Mm-hmm. Unbelievable. You just wait until you see what we do for the SC game, which won't be on Pac-12 Network, and we can talk about that in a little bit. But if you're a part of us, you can reach out to us on Twitter. We can let you guys know where it is, and you guys can come hang out with us. But yeah, so that happens. I go to see Ashley. She's eating at Free House, and she didn't tell me that there were other people there. And I just walk in with like a sweater and like a couple stickers. And she introduces me to Yogi Roth. She introduces me to Ryan Leaf. And this is a side anecdote. I froze up as soon as I saw Ryan Leaf like in person, because most of you guys know that I am an avid Chargers fan. Avid Chargers fan. Say what you want about Ryan Leaf's like career and how it panned out, but like right now the dude is an awesome and super kind dude. But for me, growing up, he was the first quarterback I rooted for. Right? He was the first quarterback I watched play on the Chargers. And as a kid, like an elementary school kid, you're just like, you just root for them, right? You don't know why they're bad or if they're bad. You're just like rooting for them. So in that moment, I like froze. I was like, oh my God, that's my childhood quarterback. Like, that's who I grew up rooting for. And I kind of froze up. But then, like, Ashley, like, I had to talk to Ashley and do some other things. So we were, like, talking. We were talking about the game. And I gave her the sweater. We took a picture together. And we were like, yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. And as I'm going home, like, I texted Ashley. I said, can you tell Ryan, like, I'm a lifelong Charger fan. Like, I froze up. Like, and I was like, at any point, if I ever see him again, I would love to get a picture with him. And Ashley goes, yeah, Ryan's like super down. You should just come down to the field anytime during the game tomorrow, and we'll snap a picture. We didn't have field passes that day, so I couldn't go down and see him. But we were just like, yeah, we'll just. I was like, we'll just do it another day. But that was like a super cool moment for me, just as a fan. Now fast forward to Saturday, they come at 11:30. They're filming for a 3 p.m. segment. So they were there for like an hour, just chatting with us, talking about the tailgate. We did the drinking song. If you haven't seen the segment, it's on the Pac-12 Network Twitter page or Twitter handle. And also, I think Avi has it like saved, and I have it saved. So you can scroll to the timeline, and you should be able to find it. But it was absolutely cool. And they were so kind. They had a bunch of our sandwiches and lumpia and all the other stuff that we had prepped too, and ate with us and hung out. And then they headed back, and I had no idea how much of the tape they were going to use, but it was actually a pretty long segment, and they used the entire song, the drinking song that we sing, and like they captured a bunch of the guys shotgunning beers too, and they put it up on the segment. So
I mean, the thing about that was, I never, and this is crazy to me, but I never knew that the Cal drinking song started with the segment about the wick and the wick being damp and the show.
Yeah. The steward went below.
Like, yeah. I was like, what in the hell? And then it fast forwards to the, oh, we had a little party down in Newport.
Yeah.
So it's like, I was stunned when that was happening because I just had never heard that version before, but it makes it even better early, honestly. And then what I would say too is the pitch and the way that Rico and Brian and crew sang that song, where it kind of has the higher pitch moments and lower pitch, and they're going into those perfectly executed. It wasn't like if you had gone to our fraternity when I was in it, ATO you would hear just a bunch of mumbling and then a few people that would know it, right? It was just more about like, but this was like perfection from delivery of the cow drinking song, which I think should be something that the library should put in the archives. Put it in Bancroft, man.
I'm sure there are better a cappella groups on campus that can sing that song better than any of us.
Yeah, but you can't get a more organic representation.
You can't, because that's years of a single group singing that song, right?
Right.
And the one thing I also need to note is Danny, who is the segment host, he introduced me as the founder of the tailgate. I am indeed not the founder of that tailgate. That tailgate was going way before I even started writing for the site and even started going out to those tailgates. Terrence is one of like the oldest tenured guys like I know in the community. I didn't mean to age you, Terrence, if you're listening to this. That wasn't my intention. Because Terrence, you're not old. Does that make it worse? I feel like I just made it worse.
Yep.
Anyways,
digging your own grave.
Terrence said it was even before like he started coming out to tailgates, which I think he said was like 2013-ish. So this tailgate has been going on for quite some time. It's just that it's changed from a group of friends to a Cal Band alumni to now like Twitter friends / Right for California / CGB. And it's taken multiple iterations, and they just happen to come film at this current iteration. So I don't want to take credit that I was the founder. I just wanted to clear the air on that because someone tweeted at me about that today, and I was like, I am definitely not. And if I had heard it in the middle of that interview, I probably would have corrected it. But you have to at least give me some leeway that in the spur of the moment, that was the least of my worries, like hearing like every single word coming out of like an interview. Like it was just TV cameras on you. It's like, you're like, your mind is elsewhere.
I mean, I think we all know you, Rob, as someone who is not humble and likes to take credit for other people's work. That's definitely the reputation that you have. So, it makes perfect sense to me that you took that one in stride and moved on with it.
Perfectly. Yes. Yes. Great. But yeah, it was, other than that, it was awesome. They gave me like a little care package. I got like a bag and I got a little mini football that had Pac-12 Network and sunglasses. So yeah, that was the start to the day. Like they left around like 12:15 and I just like hugged Rico and I was just like, the day's not even begun. Like it's a 4 p.m. kickoff and I feel like we've been here for like 6 hours. And once again, credit to Rico for prepping all the food, getting ready by 11 that's when I asked him to be ready by, because they were going to come by at 12:30 and they had him and Brian. They had everything ready to go by the time those guys arrived. Granted, we had a little bit more cooking to do, but they took like, B-roll of like us cooking and so on. But man, the work that they did was spectacular. And then the show out of people just coming by, a lot of them showed up like afterwards, which makes sense. It's a 4 p.m. kickoff. No reason for most of you guys to be here by 12. But like Andy, when you arrived, like our tailgate was like, it was popping. There were a lot of people hanging out. And
it's always popping.
Yeah.
But I agree. And I'm excited for USC. 12:30 kickoff. So you guys like to start early, which is not my thing.
Well, we got, but you're going to have to come early to this one because it's the last home one. Me and Rico are cooking.
Yep.
right? It's the bulgogi tortas. Nam's in town. Like, it's gonna, and we're in the stands. Like, you and I are gonna be in the stands for this one. So it's,
Dude, I got to buy tickets.
it's gonna be lit.
They didn't give me my alumni get a free ticket to every game.
The football? They didn't do
No.
that for you this year?
Mm-mm.
Oh, that's
Nope.
upsetting.
I don't know what happens. Maybe it's because it's been 10 years. They're like, screw this guy.
Either that or they found you out.
Yeah, and they're like,
Did he
they're
actually
like,
play a sport here?
he doesn't donate to anything besides Cal Crew, and he didn't even play Cal Crew. Yeah, try to figure me out. Good luck. Okay, so we now have part 1. We have part 2, and now let's go to part 3. So we walk up to the stadium. Go.
It was just, I don't know where I'm supposed to go with this. Can you direct me? Where am I supposed to go with this?
What was your game experience like? What takeaways? What did you see? What did you expect? Where the highs, the lows, the mids? No one cares about the press box food. It's only you and I care about that. But we knew we had our special cookie in the building. White chocolate, macadamia, raspberry was in the building. They should only have that cookie for the rest of the season. It is a good luck cookie. All right, go.
I'm not gonna lie. Okay. Not only did we have all those things, but then we get the notification on Thursday that Jeff Tedford, for you and me, like, he's our head coach, right?
He's my
like,
boss, dude.
He's
my
your boss.
old boss. Mr. Tedford.
Mr. Tedford was going to be in the building and honored in the first quarter, and against Oregon State of all teams on Halloween. What? This was ripe. This was ripe for another Cal curse, right? It was ripe for it. We were toying with the football gods, asking them to strike down all of the hope and everything. It's like if Star Wars had taken a dark turn, right? Princess Leia comes up to R2-D2, records that message. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. And then Darth Vader comes from behind her and stabs her. And then it's just over. It's just over, right? Like, that message never gets sent. But that's the moment it felt like that message was created at that Colorado game, and then everything else that led up to it was telling us we had run out of our good luck. We had the Pac-12 Networks filming our tailgate. We had Homefield drop the Cal apparel. We had Tedford coming into the stands, and it was against Oregon State, and it was a Pac-12 After Dark game. We were toying with fate. We were toying with fate. And I did not feel good. I was like, am I allowed to feel good? Can I have a little bit of hope? Because I don't want to come crashing down again, especially not against Oregon State. And that was my feeling, like, leading into the game. As we sat down and I opened up my computer, I was like, I don't have a good feeling about this. My gut feeling is not good right now. I need to go puke. But what about you? Like, what was it just like leading up to, like, kickoff?
I thought that. So I think the big thing that was not included in your events was just that, like, Aaron Rodgers kind of tweeted right before and was like, the fact that you guys are throwing together just some, like, between quarter celebration for the most legendary coach that, you know, in modern Cal history is garbage. And everyone was like, yep, good job, Aaron. That's spot on. And so to follow up on that, Donovan Frazier actually said that the invite had gone out to former players about a month ago, letting people know why they had chosen to do it I communicated out broadly so late and haphazardly. I tweeted out on the Right for Cal Live account that, in my experience with Tedford, he's a really humble guy. Could be something that he wanted and didn't want to make a big deal of it. It was also amazing just to go a little bit into the ceremony, or, you know, really what it was just kind of like hanging out with a bunch of people on field. Two really cool moments. One, Tedford holding up the Axe ALS, Eric Stevens sign, and just shows you who Tedford is. And in a moment that's dedicated to him, he shines it to somebody else that needs it and for a great cause. And then afterwards, everyone that was on the field with him, he brought in for a huddle. And that's how it ended, which was just perfect.
Yeah, I heard. I know Shane Vereen was one of the members that was on the field with them. I believe Joe Ayub also was one of the ones that was with them. I think you saw a couple, right? Did you notice?
I thought I saw Tyndall down there, but I couldn't definitively say.
Yeah, I mean, we're way far away.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough view. I know Kevin Parker, the infamous
KP
hold the rope coach was there, and he actually played under Tedford. When Tedford was at Oregon, going way back when. So, I mean, it was just great to see it. I know his family was there. I'm sure Quinn would bet was on the field. So some of the guys that were on the team when I was with the team, and
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
It was, as I said, they're going to build a statue of Tedford, or they're going to have something that's going to be more immortalized. It's just going to come. It's going to happen. Like, Tedford kind of stepped out of his career not that long ago, right? It wasn't that long ago that he was forced to retire. So this is kind of the first time coming back. I sort of felt like it was just his homecoming. Welcome back for the first time, Jeff Tedford type deal. It wasn't really like, hey, or we want to acknowledge everything that you did. Like, you notice in the readout, they didn't talk about the number of wins that he had. They didn't talk about the biggest wins they had, the number of axe wins. Like, it wasn't one of those ceremonies where it's not like a Hall of Fame induction or anything like that. So it made me feel like there's still something that could be upcoming.
Yeah. I mean,
maybe I'm wrong on that.
He's going into the Cal Hall of Fame. Like, I think that's a guarantee, right? I absolutely think so. So that's when we'll probably get that. So to back that point up, there were so many different versions of what went down regarding the whole Tedford thing and the showcasing of it. I'm not going to get into all the details, but one of the versions I heard was that he didn't want to make a big deal out of it. That he didn't want to be honored in this grandiose way. He wanted to be kept quiet for as long as they possibly could hold off, and to make the announcement, and then him be on the field.
Yeah, I just imagine just like Tedford being like, "Damn it, Aaron!" Yeah, I like that version. I like positive things. So I mean, that is in line with the person that I knew him to be. Don't get me wrong, Tedford was not a happy-go-lucky, easy boss. Like, he wanted his clock with zero mistakes. If you fucked up his clock, holy shit, you were in so much trouble. And the clock had to be out early, and it took it forever. And dude, that thing was so damn heavy every damn practice. And and my boss was very tough. Like, and he would yell at me about a bunch of. It was one of those jobs where you never got. There was no such thing as a compliment. It was just, you did your job or you didn't. And if you didn't do it, you're going to get chewed out. If you did it, then that's good. You did what you were expected to do, right? That's not exactly the modern workplace that we have nowadays. So it's not like I have this rosy glorious view of it, but I just knew that like Tedford was always he would stay up, like working he's hardworking.
He slept in his office. He had a bed in his office
from time to time, like would run around the field. And then when he come into business, it's business time. Like it's not fucking around. And but he never really made any moments about him. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like he became a personality or a person that was the face of the program. I felt that like even at its peak, really the players shined more so than him as an actual coach. And I think that's the beauty of him versus like Clemson. We probably will remember Dabo more so than even some of the better players that can come through. Mm-hmm. Like I'm sure there's how many people like right now you're probably remembering because he's playing all right on the Raiders, but like, did you guys really remember Hunter Renfrow until I just brought it up? Like there's players go through, but like for us, it's different, right? Like if I said Lavelle Hawkins, everyone would be like, oh yeah, I know, like, of course I know Lavelle Hawkins. So, like there's random players like Boateng. You're like, oh, I know Nyan Boateng. Like he wasn't even good. Like and so I think that's a balance and it reflects on the character of the university really well. So I do want to stop there because at this point I'm 95% positive that Go Bears 49 is like, why aren't you talking about the football game? So in the spirit of making GB49 happy, let's talk about this football game.
All right.
Because it flows through.
It does.
And the theme was, this is the theme. What or is it what? Or should I say, how about the theme is that play is going to come back to bite us. That's the theme in quotes. That play is going to come back to bite us. And that's how what I feel like you set up so well was that was the mentality that everybody had. It's exactly what you said. It was like spooky weekend. Tedford's back. Oregon State's in town. They're finally playing up to their full potential and looking like a favorite in the Pac-12 outside of Oregon. And then you have all of these other things that are happening. And you're like, okay, what is going to go horrifically wrong? And then this game goes to that script. Hunter drops a touchdown. Kakoa drops a ball like that he should have caught. We do random things like we just play turtle mode with 55 seconds left in 3 timeouts. And I swear at every single one of those times, you could find a tweet, you could find a person, or both that were saying sarcastically, well, that play is not going to come back to bite us. And so with that stage set for you, Rob, let's talk about the game.
All right. Let me run you through some like the basic stuff, all right? So Cal hosts Oregon State. Oregon State 5-2, Cal 2-5. Cal, of course, beats Oregon State 39-25. Cal offensively exploding, defensively locking down Oregon State outside of one touchdown, which I still, to this day, am not going to forgive that ref for not calling an offensive PI. I think most Cal fans will. But Chase Garbers, stunning, right? 17 of 26, no interceptions, 262 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a long of 41. Also on the ground, 10 rushes for 58 yards and a touchdown. Your boy, Damian Moore, 11 carries, 111 yards, 1 touchdown, averaging 10.1 yards per carry. Christopher Brooks, also 20 carries for 83 yards, an average of 4.2. Doesn't get that touchdown, though. Receiving, everyone got a touch. Trayvon Clark, 7 targets, 5 receptions, 90 yards and a touchdown. Jeremiah Hunter, 3 targets, two receptions, 57 yards. Didn't get the touchdown, though. Could have had it. Could have had it.
In his hands.
Could have had it.
Bounced off his bicep. It was there.
It was there. It was absolutely there. Christopher Brooks, 2 receptions. Kiko Crawford, 2 receptions. Nico Remigio, 2 receptions. Monroe Young, 1.
Wait. Chris Brooks had 2 touchdowns.
On 2 catches.
I know. I just want you said no touchdowns for Chris Brooks, so I was like, well, you better say it on the receiving end, otherwise he's gonna be upset with you.
Chris Brooks, 2 targets, 2 touchdowns on 2 catches. Dario Longhetto, 1 of 2, missed the long of 48, but it's okay because it didn't really hurt us in the long term. 2 interceptions by the Bears defense. Nate Rachena with one and Elijah Hicks with the other. Defensively, it was all hands on deck. We had 1 sack by Trey Pastor, who also had a tackle for loss. The interceptions came, but the man of the hour that we all talked about as soon as the game ended, Isaiah Young filling in for an injured Colin Gamble, who was knocked out in the first quarter. 4 pass breakups, I believe 1 completion on 5 targets thrown at him. And the 1 completion was that touchdown run by Bradford. Was it Bradford? I can't remember who the touchdown catch was, but it was the offensive. We think it's the offensive pick play. And that's the one that knocked him out. But it was that he was the intended corner. So.
No.
Did I get that wrong?
No.
I'm pretty sure I got that right. Did I get that wrong?
If you're talking about, no, because Isaiah Young, what happened on his touchdown was the safety was late getting over. So if you're talking about the one where the tight end ran into our defender and completely took him out of the play, that was different. So the one that, I'm pretty, unless I saw it wrong, the only way I say I'm wrong on this is if I saw it wrong in the booth and it actually wasn't Young on that play, but it was the first, was it the first? It was the first touchdown that Oregon State scored to get to 10 was in the right end zone, and Young was a little like the receiver got a step or 2 on him, and then the safety was late with the help. And so I think like people said that, I believe that it was more so on the safety than it was on the corner.
I'm looking here. I'm trying to look at the drive charts, but I can't seem to.
Okay.
I can't see if I.
While you do that, I also want to talk about Dario Longetto because you didn't say the theme when you had a perfect chance. He missed the field goal, and what was going through everybody's mind? Well, that's not going to come back to bite us. 100%. That was there. And you know why?
Why?
Because Nico had that end zone play, which was like the Willie Mays catch, except he like turned his body better. And I think if you asked Nico about it, he probably would say like, that's a catch that he has to make.
I'm pretty sure he would say the same. Yeah.
It was hard, but it was there. Ball was thrown well, catchable ball. And we thought we were going to get obviously the touchdown, and we end up taking the field goal. We missed the field goal, and the whole collective stadium is, now nervous. And I belive that was that when we had a 6-point lead because they had scored
they scored the 2-point conversion. Yeah. So I think you and I collectively can say, I think the game flow of the game, we're like, Nick actually said it best, not Nick, the columnist, but our other friend, Nick. He was like, the entire game when I was watching at home, I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. Right? It felt like that. It for me, it kind of did. I don't know about other people, but like we go up 10-0, then they hit the field goal, and then we go score the touchdown again. It's 17-3. Then they score the touchdown to end the half, and it's 17-10. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, can we just get to that? Can we just get to that third, like 3-score game, right? 2 just seems too close for me. Can we just get to that number 3? Then we come out in the third quarter and we score right away, 24-10. Then they score another touchdown, it's 24-17. Then we score another touchdown, it's 31-17. And I'm feeling good about myself right there. And it's 3rd and long, and we get the tight end, that pick play, 2 guys get knocked out. Elijah Hicks can't roll over fast enough because, of course, he doesn't expect 2 of his guys in front of him to get knocked out by a single player. And Bradford goes for 46 yards on the touchdown pass. And they go for 2, they convert, and the score is 6 points. 11:23 left in the fourth quarter, and you're like, oh my God, this is it, isn't it? This is the curse of a Cal fan against Oregon State when we just need to beat them. Like, it's a must-win game against Oregon State with higher stakes, and it's that again. We are cursed. We are absolutely cursed. But no, we come back off the block. We get the stop, we block the punt, and then it's the touchdown pass on first down. Wait, am I getting that right? Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
No, that's it, man.
Yeah.
I remember. I was gone.
Yeah. Yeah. You were in the bathroom.
I just remember walking in the press box, and I'm hearing I'm hearing it on the press box PA. It goes, blocked punt, Cal, right? Cal recovers at the, I'm going to say 39.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next play in the PA, press PA, doesn't say anything and just goes, touchdown Cal. And then it goes, Garber's pass to Trevin Clark.
Yep.
No emotion,
Yep.
nothing, which is what the press box PA is supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
But it was so impressive.
Yeah.
It was unbelievably
Yeah.
impressive. There was so much that I talked to a guy and I was like, wow, there was no emotion in that. And the guy was, I think, in the Oregon State Athletic director's box or something. I mean, he's decked out in Oregon State gear. And he's like, yeah, there was no emotion in that whatsoever. I was like, honestly, I'm just impressed.
Yep.
To see that type of play and just be like, touchdown California.
Yep.
39-yard pass. Garbers to Trevin Clark.
Yep.
It's just
And
so
that was
good.
and that was to end the third quarter. I mean, yeah, and then we go on, and then we got to talk about that last play of the game, though, right? That last touchdown we got to answer from 6 points, because as soon as they got within 6, I was like, yeah, oh god, like this is what's happening, isn't it? But then we drive, and it's the scramble play again. It's the Garbers, the one that you thought was Garbers rolling out to the wrong side, right? And he dips the shoulder, gets past Omar Spates, and then just dinks one to his left into Christopher Brooks, who's in the end zone. A little worried because it was a little low, but Christopher Brooks gets low enough and gets it. No one is guarding him. Like, no one had picked him up. He was wide open. And you and I just like kind of shrieked. We're like, oh my God, how did he score? And then we go back up. We go back up by 2 scores, 39-25. And I was like, oh my God, there's the game. And I was like, there's nothing they could do to probably win this. There's only 5 minutes left. It would have to be like something amazing. And at that point, I was like coming to the realization, like our win percentage was probably at like 95%, right? They had to do something spectacular to be able to come back and win that game. And then not only that, we hit the 2-point conversion to put it back up 14, which was even more impressive because we actually failed our 2-point conversion, but then they had a penalty. It gave us another shot at it. And instead of passing the ball, we ran Christopher Brooks to the outside. The edge was set, and he had an open lane straight into the end zone. And that was that. And we won. I'm out of words because, so I was talking to you about this in the game, right? I was like, the sun is supposed to set at 6:17, right? And the game kicked off at 4. I was like, midway through the third, we're going to start to get Pac-12 after dark shenanigans, which is exactly what happened. But the shenanigans only went far enough to make it slightly interesting, but still kept the game out of reach for Oregon State. And we got the win on. My God. My God.
I think the funny thing about looking at the scoring summary is the actual score makes it seem closer than it really was. Because I think if you add in, the Damian Moore
touchdown that was pulled back.
Touchdown that's pulled back, and we decide to go for the score instead of running out the clock, you're looking at a game where it's 45-ish or whatever, 45-46 to 25, and you're like, okay, stomped.
Yeah.
But like when you look at it, you're like, okay, wow, like, oh, that must have been a nail biter, right? Once they're within 6, and there's 11:23 in the fourth, and very much it was. I might have said it was wrong earlier when it was talking about like the big play that happened on special teams. No, I think
you and I were both wrong.
Kick.
That happened in the third quarter. That was the first play off the missed kick, but yeah.
That was to put it up 14 again.
Yeah.
And yeah, but it was just a game where, one of the themes that has been pretty consistent with the San Francisco Giants this year, which I think is a relevant example just because of how much they won and they were really able to establish a winning culture, is basically if you get punched in the mouth or you just got to answer. And it felt like Cal was the one that threw the first punch, and with the play that Bimage made and the first play from scrimmage, I mean, that was ridiculous. Ripped the ball out. I once again am walking in the hallway of the press box, and I hear a guy talking to the AD who looked like he was trying to impress the AD, and he was like the Oregon State AD, and he goes, "Yeah, I got a couple of texts from a few folks that said that it for sure wasn't a fumble, but because it was called on the field, that's what it was." Or there wasn't a good enough angle to overturn it. And I was just like, oh, that's hilarious because, it's a perspective I don't have. Because in my mind, I'm like, yeah, right. That was 100% a fumble. But, I kind of laugh at them because whatever, you're losing and I'm stoked. But I think so. All right. So Cal comes out with the first punch. Bimage makes that huge play. We go back down. Like Hunter drops it should have been 14-0. Like Chase hit Hunter with a perfect ball right here. And Hunter, probably, I can't say what happened, but hey, like he's a young player. Probably like notes future conversation between you and us. Like, how do you react when one of your favorite players makes a really bad play? I was very conflicted at that time, but, okay, so like then you're up 10-0. Okay, then Oregon State's going to come back. But then it's like, no, Cal came right back, put them up 17-3. And you're like, okay, like this is Colorado. Like we're going to go in cruise control here, except, you knew that Oregon State had just scored at will against Utah and like had played a similar game and it just rattled off score after score after score. So there was never felt out of it. But it was just sort of this boxing match that went back and forth, and Cal always answered. We're so used to Cal not answering in those situations. And that's when I think like when Nick talks about it being like cathartic, and then you and I last week, we talked about Colorado being an exorcism for this season, right? Mm-hmm. I think we said that.
Yep, we did.
All right, good. Memory is still there, even after outside lands. Okay, continuing on. This game was almost an exorcism of 5 years of Cal football because when playing competitive teams, we've followed such a predictable game script.
You've had Wendy's nugs dipped in sauce, but have you had them covered in sauce? Wendy's new saucy nugs take the crispy and spicy nugs you love and turn them up to 11. Choose between flavors like buffalo or honey barbecue, garlic parm, or if you're a real heat seeker out there, you can try spicy ghost pepper, only on Wendy's signature spicy nugs. Listen, I'm going to dare you to do it. I dare you. That's 7 delicious ways to try the nugs that you already love. Pick a flavor, grab some extra napkins, and then grab a few more napkins and prepare to nug like you've never nugged before. For a whole new way to nug, it's got to be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's.
I think I'm full stopping right there. Like that boxing match, the back and forth, the tie back to the Giants, and the fact that every time, it seemed like a team would put a run up on the board. Like let's use the Dodgers-Giants game, for example. Obviously, we didn't win that game. But what happens, right? Dodgers finally break through. They put a run up, and then immediately the Giants answer back with the Darren Ruff homer. And it was like that every single time. You'd get nervous as a fan. The other team scored a run, and for the vast majority of those situations, the Giants would come back and they would put runs up on the board. And it's exactly what Cal did in this game. It's like every time Oregon State had a positive play, we're like, great, we're going to meet you with another positive play of our own. Every single time they put points up on the board, like, great, we're going to go and put points back up on our board. Like, and I bet if you ask Wilcox, like, is this the most complete game that he's ever coached? Like, don't ask him now, or maybe on Tuesday he might take that question. Let's talk about like asking him that in December, once the season's like kind of reflecting on that game. And I honestly wonder, like, it's probably in the top 5, Yeah. I think the bowl game against Illinois was up there. Like that was, one of those games where we really just smacked an opponent. But it's hard for me to find 3 others or 4 others that would really compete with this game on that level.
Yeah, The only other ones that come to mind is probably like the Washington State, like once again in October, right? Friday the 13th. And they come to town, the Smoke Bowl game. So
Yes.
there's only a couple more, but like some of these other stats, right? Oregon State averaged coming into this game 30.1 points per game, right? We held them 25. That's good. A good offense is gonna score. They're gonna find ways to score, right? What's the basketball term for it? What's it? Great offense always beats a good defense, right?
That's what they say in basketball.
Yeah.
But in football, they say the opposite.
Right. I mean, they're just saying like you can put your hand up in a guy's face and be the like perfect like footwork, everything. But if a guy knocks down the shot, he knocks down the shot. And that's kind of what it is in college football too. You can't really clamp down on an opponent. They're gonna score. College football, there's always variance for scores to happen. It's just how can you limit the amount of scores that you give up to how explosive that team is, which is exactly what this team did against a very explosive Oregon State team, which is probably in the top 25 in terms of total offense in the entire country. So you do that, right? Then you ground and pound them to the point where they have no answer for your run game whatsoever. 13 of 19 third down conversions, held onto the ball 33 minutes and 59 seconds of the total game. And you go 3 of 4 in the red zone. And that's that. Like, that's outstanding. And not only that, the big question or the big point that Wilcox always makes is like, what can you do off of turnovers? They scored 7 points off of a turnover. And that kept it within reach. I think you said it perfectly. Every time the Cal team was asked a question, they had an answer. Whether it be offensively, whether it be defensively, heck, even this game, even special teams. You needed special teams to come through on at least one play, whether it be running back a touchdown on a punt or a kickoff, giving yourself good field advantage. But they did that on the Nick Alston block punt play. And that's his second block punt of the season. We forget that.
Yeah, the other one we
won't talk
out
about,
of our memory.
But in the stat book, he does have 2 block punts on the season, which is incredible for a single player.
The special teams, the miss on, or the big hit on, I think the miss on our part and as a collective group is we probably don't remember what we did on kickoffs as much as we remember the blocked punt. Mm-hmm. But what we were doing to essentially balance the speed that Oregon State had in returning the ball was we were doing these pooch punts and forcing Oregon State to take fair catches and take it from the 25. Mm-hmm. And it worked brilliantly. So, and it completely removed that element. And you never want to have to do that because you don't trust your unit. But at the same time, it's actually, I thought in this scenario, more so just speaking to the speed and the dynamic athleticism that Oregon State had. The special teams played a really good game for Cal special teams of late. But I really want to talk about the defense.
All right.
So I cheated. I know one of the questions, and I'm going to answer it now. So Shavit asked this, and it was the second question, which was, do you think we'll ever see another Cal, like, I'm paraphrasing, do you think we'll ever see another great Cal defense a la
I did
Evan
see that
Weaver?
question. Yep.
And I've said this last week, and I'm here again, obviously. You'll find me here next week as well, just in case you're curious where I go.
Well, let me read the question in full, so like everyone gets it, right? So Shavit, his take is, if there's a path to greater things than seven, that's a take. We'll talk about his take later. His question.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, the question was the second part.
Question was the second part. All right, well, I'll read the question. He says, can we get back to the Taker / Evan Weaver era defensive performance?
Yes. So I think the answer for me, remove that. Unequivocally, yes. this is the foundation towards getting there. The guys that we're seeing, it's like, I am thrilled because it's almost like where I was at last week and what we were talking about and rotating the young guys on defense. It sort of like was in all of the pieces this week that came out. Like it was in the novel. It was in Nick's post-game thoughts. Like the level at which we are rotating on the defensive side of the football and the significance of the injuries on the side of that football is the next man up mentality and the compete in every position and with every player mentality that Wilcox instills in his team. So if you're wondering what the identity is of a Wilcox team, this is it. We just don't see it on offense as much as we do on defense. And finally, we are seeing it and the benefits of that. Therefore, if this continues and you're watching, what do we track at the Bearcast? We track progression, game-to-game progression. What we are seeing now is two really specifically, and I'm sorry, I'm going to go back to Oregon. We held Oregon to a very manageable amount of points as well. The defense has been playing, and even Washington State. Sorry, I keep going back. The defense has been playing well for longer than we'd like to remember, and they have progressed every single game. And now what are we seeing? We're not just seeing better tackling, but we're actually seeing turnovers being caused. And that was a huge aspect of this game. Elijah Hicks is playing out of his damn mind. Holy shit. That dude is playing unbelievably good football right now. And then on top of that, you have other guys, like you mentioned, Nate Rachena, but we didn't even talk about Femi. Femi was unbelievable. He led the team in tackles. This dude is a true freshman, and that is where you start to see the makings of the next, of that defense coming back. Is these young guys, Colin Gamble, Lou Hearns, Femi, Rachena's young. I'm trying to think of some D-line guys, but Iosef is going to be back. Ethan Saunders, you have such a solid foundation of players, and Pastor's going to return. And then if Coyne is going to decide to stay and get a medical waiver for this year, because I'm 100% assuming he's out for the season, you are then going to have a plethora of talent, and that is we love the takers. We love to highlight the few guys that were really good, but it was really the guys on the what I would call not the outside, but they just weren't it was the Trey Becks that made that team what it was. And it's those guys that are secretly really freaking good, but don't get as much of the fanfare. Obviously, he was the best nickel in the country. We all know that. But that support and allow somebody like Evan Weaver to do what they do. Those players are super important because an Aaron Darnold can't be the best D lineman in the country if your secondary is Swiss cheese. Why do we think Bosa has been good, but Bosa hasn't been great for the Niners? Because the Niners secondary sucks. Josh Norman is terrible, right? So it's those other guys that are supporting, that are actually allowing those players to become the exceptional player that they are. And that's what I think the making of those defenses had, and it comes from depth. And so all of this, once again, that I've been ranting about, is that we finally have the foundation of depth to be really good regardless of injury. We can take a hit to our best player, Brett Johnson. We can take a hit to our second best player in Coyne Dang. We can take a hit to our starting cornerback in the first quarter against the best passing attack in the Pac-12 North. And we can handle that and put in Isaiah Young and have him play an excellent game. And Lou Hearns holds it down on the other side. We didn't even hear his name called. Dude's incredible. He's a true freshman. So for me, when you're looking at that defense next year, this is what I buy into. This is where everyone's like, what future do you buy into? What about the recruiting class? I don't care about the recruiting class. We have the players right now to be really freaking good next year. So the recruiting class of next year is important, but it doesn't matter to me right now because all I want to see is this team next year. I'm going to watch the rest of the season. I hope that we get to 7-5. If we get to 6-6, that would be great. If it doesn't go that direction, we get to 5-7. Whatever. The season is what it is. We should have beaten TCU. Nevada's actually pretty good, and we lost a shit ton of toss-ups. that's kind of like what I would chalk the season up to. But as you look forward, if you want to get into the optimism that sits in my head, this is what I would invest in. And, time to go to Vegas.
All right.
Defense, baby. That is my take.
Usually I play devil's advocate, but I actually did some research. I took some time to do some research after I saw that tweet. And I'm gonna we have some more pointers to talk about, especially about the defense. I think the offense we've kind of mostly talked about. Maybe there's a couple more points we gotta
go.
about.
We gotta go back to the offense.
Right,
we gotta have a full Chase Love section.
All right. Let me talk about the defense for a little bit. All right. Let me talk about the whole takers, going back to takers. So what would you say was the better defensive year? Was it 2018 or was it 2019?
18.
Most people would say 2018. All right. Statistically speaking, currently where the Bears stand right now, right? They're a little bit ways off from 2018, like meeting that standard. All right. And let me talk to you why. The passing defense for that team averaged about a touchdown per game. Rushing defense, they averaged about a touchdown per game. Total offense, they gave up about 317 yards, with about a 4.6 yards average yards per play average. Okay, that's what that defense gave up. You look at the current 2021 team. They give up about 1.9 touchdowns in the pass game, 1.1 touchdowns in the rush game. Total offensive yards about 370 and about 5.6 yards per play. That's where we stand right now. So a little bit ways off from 2018. But you also have to understand we're probably missing our best player on defense in Brett Johnson. We've had a bunch of guys hopping in and out of injuries. We were actually the least plagued injury-wise in 2018 on the defensive side. So all things considered, there's not that much of a gap. But you flip over to 2019, and the numbers are eerily similar. The numbers start to get very similar. And what happened in 2019? We had injuries. We had Ashton Davis out for a little bit. We had Jalen Hawkins out for a little bit. We had Cam Bynum out for a little bit. We had guys miss time. And the numbers actually match up to that season and 2021. It's not exactly the same, but it's quite similar. So what does that mean? It means that this defense, as you said, is a lot better than we give it credit for. At least statistically. Right? It might not have produced the wins that we would have wanted, but that's kind of where it's trending. It's trending up. Guys are getting more experience. Like, let's take the Isaiah Young thing, for example, right? He wasn't on the depth chart for weeks. And then on Tuesday, when the depth chart for the Oregon State game was released, the dude jumps up to the third cornerback on the list. And I'm like, what? Like, why? Okay, did Brandon Smith get injured? Like, what's happening? And then in the game, Colin Gamble goes out and they're forced to play Isaiah Young, who was number 3 on the depth chart. And what does he do? He plays probably the best corner play that we've seen since probably Cam Bynum. And what school did Isaiah Young go to? The exact same school that Cam Bynum went to. So there's just a lot of similarities there. Like, we have to give these young guys time, and we're starting to see that progress. The added part to that I'll say, Andy, what's the one coaching guy that's left over like the last year that people have always been asking about, of like, why did we let him go?
No way. Are we back here again?
Yeah. Who is it?
Let me guess. He's on the Dolphins.
No, not that one. Not that one.
Oh.
The other one. The other one that people think was the mastermind of this defense.
Yeah. Of course. Tim DeRuyter.
Tim DeRuyter.
Exactly where my head went when you brought up 2019.
Tim DeRuyter.
Actually, exactly where my head went.
All right. You want to know an interesting fact right now? Where do you
Yes.
think the Bears rank in points per game allowed on defense in the Pac-12?
Oh, we're right now?
Right now, after the Oregon State game, after week 9.
I'm guessing we give up something in the 20s, like mid 20s. And then I guess in the Pac-12, where do we rank defensively? Maybe third?
You're close. We're a 4th. We give up 23.8 points per game. Okay? Now, where do you think Oregon stands?
Well, given that they just got blown up by Colorado, I know it was late game, but like, come on. Sixth.
They're 3rd. They give up 23.3 points per game.
Damn it. But they also have Kayvon Thibodeau.
Exactly.
The human cheat code.
Exactly my point. But just looking at like where the team is and statistically, like how much do you think the Beavers get, or not the Beavers, the Ducks give up in the air every game? Yards.
390 yards per game.
261. All right.
Damn, they're good.
Where do you think the Bears
That's
rank?
good. Oh wow. My bad. Okay. So now I'm really doubting myself. I think I went to the overall defensive total and I was like, okay, so
All right, let's go overall. Let's go overall yardage. You think Oregon's at
390.
Oregon's 390? Okay,
Yeah.
You're right. Where do you think Cal is?
What? I nailed it?
Yeah.
Damn.
392.
I'm good when
392.8.
I know what Cal is, 370.
365.9.
Yeah, you said that one.
They've actually lowered.
Okay.
So if you look at just the general stats, this is not advanced stats, right? Like Oregon, and I'm just going to go over this because we don't have time to like just do more quizzes, but Oregon has 11 interceptions, Cal has 8. Oregon has 5 fumble recoveries, Cal has 4. Oregon has 17 sacks, Cal has 17 sacks. Like from the progression of the season, this whole thing about like we missed DeRuyter because of like what he did of the prepping and the planning and how this defense plays actually doesn't hold up so well because Cal's defense is actually pretty much on pace with Oregon, despite Oregon having the best player in the conference.
Yep.
That's where we stand. Now the good pivot here is, I don't want to point fingers, but what we have to say is the offense hasn't performed up to par early on in the season to give this defense the spotlight that it needs to say we were winning games. But you look at this game, this Oregon State game, and now it's time to show. That's what happened. So talk to me. We're talking about Chase, right? We're talking about Oregon State.
So I think we need to have this entire segment dedicated to Chase because was this the best Chase Garbers game we've ever seen? Probably. And he is just on such an awesome trajectory right now. It's unbelievable. And so what I wanted to shout out is this offense. The thing that gets me excited about this offense is Chase providing the blueprint for players like Kai to come in and be dual threat. And to come in and be like, look, you're going to have to wonder, are we going to run a quarterback designed run? Are we going to bootleg our quarterback outside the pocket? Are we going to have our quarterback sit under center, like sit in the pocket and stand in and make a really good deep throw? I mean, dude, that defense, like I know Oregon State's defense is winnable, right? We knew that going in, but even still, like they had to have been guessing so often. It's like, they're running it down our throat. What do we do? All right, we stop the run. Okay. Well, what happens when the quarterback leaks out? All right. Well, we'll watch the quarterback. Okay, but what happens if the quarterback, hits the receiver that's sitting down in the zone or decides to send the running back out on a wheel route? What do we do with the running back? It's just like you could just see the confusion that it makes because there's so many angles in which you can be gotten. And that, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Like, the schematics are great. It takes individuals to execute, and Chase has been executing as probably as perfectly as he ever has. The fact that, I mean, he didn't even have a ball that was remotely close to being picked off yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, the guy has been so secure with the football. His decision making has been pretty damn good. Like, there was maybe one throw and it felt like could have been better, and it was in the first quarter, and literally besides that, zero. And I don't know. He's just been the epitome of great for us over these last 2 weeks, and the best possible outcome of this would just be carrying that momentum through and beating Stanford
again,
along with SC and Arizona
and UCLA. I mean, so here's the thing, right? And I don't know if I believe this, but it is something that I've been thinking about over like the last, day or two, that I've been rewatching some Cal highlights and games, and I rewatched a bit of the Oregon State game. You know that the one that always like gets us and kind of like just annoys us is when Chase throws like a 4-yard flat into the dirt. Right. It's the one that frustrates us the most.
That is the one.
Let me pose a hypothetical to you. What if that's what he's being told to do? Right? Like, if he sees a guy, if you see your safety valve guy, and you know that he's not going to get past the line of scrimmage, what if he's being taught to throw it into the dirt, like into his feet?
I don't know, because it would be a stretch, I think, to say that for. It would be a stretch to say that when we were talking about it in the Nevada game.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. For me, it's a stretch.
I mean, I'm not saying that I believe it, but I'm just looking at how he's done that and how consistent that is. Like, the only other option is either he's really bad at that throw, or the other option is that's what he's being taught to do. Right? There's no in between there, because otherwise he would have started to make those throws, like as he's done them more. But it's just one of those throws that he's consistently thrown into the dirt. So that's why I just posed the question. Maybe that's like a habitual thing that they're teaching him to do, to kind of cheat the whole intentional grounding rule.
Could be.
But man, I mean, we have to talk about the two like points that everyone is like triggered about, right? Is the end of the first half. And I tweeted that out about how if you win the game, how you ended the first half won't matter. But if you happen to lose the game, that's the one that everyone's going to be talking about. Like, that's the thing. 55 seconds left, you get the ball back. You have all three of your timeouts, and you only use one, and you take one deep shot that actually nets you quite a bunch, but you don't actually do anything with it because you ran out of clock time. So, I mean, he said it was his decision to, like, that's what they wanted to do in the post-game conference, right? But what were your thoughts, like, looking back at it?
Number one, for those that think that Wilcox doesn't know the offensive side of the football, he came out and said that was his decision. So, he's probably more involved than you think. I thought it was very conservative. So, 55 seconds, 3 timeouts. You have a unique opportunity to put the game, especially coming off of the touchdown that they had scored. I think you have an opportunity. You have an opportunity to put the lead at double digits. You're exactly right. If you lose the game, you're an idiot. If you win the game, no one remembers. I think you're an idiot people would call you that for the right reasons. And so I think that to me, despite Wilcox, what he was talking about, and it certainly helped to understand his thinking behind it and where it came from. I just think that it's the wrong decision. You're gassing that team. Your quarterback has looked incredibly in control, and maybe those are that's just a little bit of just Justin's past catching up with him. There's been those plays in games like this where something like they are like, okay, let's go be aggressive. And what happens? We turn the ball over and we give up points on the other end, and it gets even worse. And so maybe, I did like about what Wilcox said was like, we saw some things that we were doing well. We saw some areas of opportunity. We wanted to get into halftime, talk about those so that we could continue to just get after it. And so, yeah, maybe it was like he just wanted to talk to his guys in a setting that wasn't in front of a bunch of people and just sort of reset everybody going into the second half, because they truly felt like, it was gettable and it was winnable and that they were going to execute. I just don't understand it for a second, like the 3 timeouts, and then you look at the way that it played out, and Jeremiah Hunter ends up getting open on a really nice pump from Chase, and Chase hits him in stride, and he's forced to turn up field because there's no time left on the clock when he could have gone out of bounds and we could have had a field goal. And in a game where, as Wilcox said, he talks about how it's just a couple of plays that determine wins or losses. So it's like, all right, well, that was a play where you could have had points on the board and you took them off. So those are the plays that I think you have to get right, especially playing the narrow margin football that we've been playing. If we're going to be a team that's going to drop 45 points the rest of the season, then I don't really care if you go with your 55 seconds. You're scoring 45 points a game. You've earned my respect on that. But when you don't do that, like we've done for the last 4 years, it's hard to have the faith that that's the right call in that right moment. What did you think, Rob? Because we were in the press box, so we can't always talk about it up there. I never really got your take. I just tweeted out mine.
I mean, I think the biggest thing for me is, there's a disconnect with what Wilcox says versus how he sometimes coaches games, right? Because he always talks about how difficult it is to win in college football, like how wins are hard to come by, like you have to fight for every win. But there are moments like that where if you're fighting to get a win, then it's a moment where you want to help your team try and win. And if you're not trying to score on offense to increase the margin of victory and give yourself more leeway on defense, then are you really trying to win? I think he is trying to win, but it's just in those moments where it's like, this offense, that Oregon State offensive can score. You know your defense has had issues in the second half, and your offense has had issues in the second half. That's a lot of trust, like, on your offense and defense, like, in a game, in a vacuum, to be like, without looking at all the past, just looking at them going, you can do it. Like, I know you guys can handle it. And it's a ballsy move. I mean, it's a ballsy move that paid off. Ultimately, you got the victory. But not giving yourself more room for error, I think that's the disconnect for me when he says, like, it's hard to win in college football, because for me, those two things are connected. Like, if you want to win, you have to give yourself a larger margin of error, but you can't keep shrinking that down. So yeah, that's where I stand.
Well said. I agree. It's like oddly contradictory, but I just wonder if there's demons that exist from, certain games where,
right.
It's just been that one turnover, that one play where if we just had that back, I mean, there's no way that TCU isn't haunting us right now where we're like, oh, if we just done that one thing, if we just hadn't had that one special teams mistake, if we hadn't, had that one mistake, we would have won that game. So I bet that some of that is there, but winning erases a lot of things. Mm-hmm. Winning cures a lot of different ailments. So the more you win like this, I think the more aggressive you get. Mm-hmm. And that will go away with time.
I think so. I think you're absolutely right. It's but it's just one of those things that everyone's going to have an issue about. And like, I think the other thing that I think you and I are on the same page, but kind of in that same vein, is what happened at the end of the game, right? You get the Damian Moore run. He gets called down, which we both think he got into the end zone. We don't think he both got down, but you're at the 1 yard line. You can't kneel the game out. And instead of going for the other score, you kneel, and then on fourth down, like, have just Chase trying to run out the clock, like run backwards and then just throw it up in the air. And the ball still lands, 1 second left, and, Oregon State takes the knee, but, people were upset about that. But I don't mind it, because Jonathan Smith just took it in stride as well, right? It's not like he tried to take another deep shot with 1 second left and try to get one more score on you. He understood the game is over. I'm gracefully just kneeling it out and just running out the clock so that both of us can go home, and not trying to run up the score on you. But
right, I mean, a lot of people don't understand too. I think from an injury football, that injuries are a thing in football. Football are very common. Okay, if you score the touchdown there, yes, I would have wanted the touchdown, but if you score the touchdown there and give the ball back to Oregon State is not going to kneel out the game for you. You are going to have to put your defense back onto the field. And is it worth? What if Isaiah Young got hurt? Would it be worth it for that to have 6-7 meaningless points when you had already won the game? I feel like sometimes we don't look at the other side. It's yes, we want that as fans, but let's look at the opposite situation. You lose a starter that was playing even worse. What if Lou Hurst got hurt? Okay, so this is a guy that's been starting all year who got hurt. For you guys to put up 6 or 7 meaningless points at a point where you've already won the game, the risk is not worth the reward. Damian Moore gets in the end zone. Great. We feel great about it. And we get the score. If not, hey, he iced the game anyways. It didn't matter. We won the game. And everybody that was in attendance knew that score should have reflected more of a 21-point margin. But hey, it didn't. And that's life. So
yeah,
that's sort of where I'm at.
You're just padding it for the stat books. The win's the win, right? That's what matters. No one's going to go back at and look at the 2021 season record and be oh, that game, they're going to look at, let's say we end the season 7-5, right? They're going to be oh yeah, that team went 7-5. They're not going to be oh, but that one win out of the 7 should have been a 21-point game and not a 14-point game. Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. That's a long conversation about this game, right? I think we're pretty good to go. It is a victory, Andy. You know what that means.
Wait, do we have questions?
We don't. Actually, I think we do. I think we have 1 or 2. But let me pull it up real quick. Got one from Shavit, which we talked about. Or actually, should we talk about his take?
Yeah.
So his take was, if there's a path to greater things than 6 or 7 wins with this staff, it would look like this kind of run first offensive performance, and for that, O-line recruiting and coaching will need an upgrade. What do you think about that take?
So I mean, the thing that I told Rob, 1, I like the take. 2, I feel like Shavit's close to joining us in Team Optimism, so get ready. Not that you're not already there. 3rd, walking with Rob post game. What do you remember what I told you?
We talked about so much. We talked about the meaning of life. We talked about what fried chicken really tastes like. There's too many things we talked about.
All right. So what I said was that the formula for success for this team is built behind the offensive line. So in total agreement there. And that perhaps I was wrong on the Angus McClure stuff, because that unit's looked pretty damn good the last 2 weeks. It's only 2 weeks. You're playing Colorado, but then you're playing against, obviously, Oregon State, who's better. So it's 2 weeks of data, and we still have that Washington State game that I promise you, I have not forgotten about that. But, I think what we were talking about was Cal needs to establish itself to be in the running for the players that Stanford gets. Stanford gets these guys that are 5-star O linemen. They need to be coming to Cal. Those are the wins that we need in the recruiting battle to set this program up, where it's just we are O-line you. We bring them in. We have the glory day, Alex Mack, who welcomes you on, picture of him and welcomes you in. And then it's from here on out, we're building the legacy, right? And we're building a legacy of guys. I mean, I know we still have guys that are doing well in the NFL, but it's we're building the legacy of having a Wisconsin level O-line. Big dudes that like to eat and stand up front and open holes for your running back and are good in pass protection. That's it. And I think that's the formula that I believe that they are trying to build. So I agree. I just don't know if McClure is or is not the right guy. I mean, because on the recruiting side, you can make the case that that's where his prowess exists. And so if you start to see a product on the field that can be good, then I think I would take it. And I would hope to see like what that future would look like. So absolutely, I think that's exactly how this team becomes, 8-9 win team is by doing that.
I think the staff knows that too. I think the big thing is, we talked about the recruiting class from last year, and we also talked about the recruiting class for this year. Like, where are the big like star mainstays from those two classes? They come on the defensive line, right? They know that these battles against, especially Pac-12, like how Oregon recruits, how USC recruits, like how Utah recruits. Like, we have to be able to win those battles in the defensive line and the offensive line. I think the defensive line, we're starting to get there because guys want to play in this defense. We just got to start showing of an offense that guys want to play in. And we're starting to showcase that a little bit, right? We actually have the film now to kind of be like, this is what you're going to be doing. This is the offense you're going to be trying protecting and doing. And so, I mean, who was I talking to a few years ago where I was like asking, it was an offensive lineman. It might've been Safel, where I was like, what do you enjoy like doing the most like on offense? And he's like, because, they were asking him to pull as a center and he'd never done that before. And I was like, are you having a lot of fun with that? He's like, yeah, like run game, pass game's fun, but he's like, being a run blocker, like being able to go downhill on guys, like that's a lot more fun. And I think most O-linemen would probably agree. So if you see this type of team that like runs play action and runs and all that, I think, it's going to be easier to sell guys. And we just need that to actually convert into actually pulling guys in and then being developed into guys that play on the O-line.
Mm-hmm. Well said.
All right. Next one. We got one from Sid. Her take is, what a game. That was the most solid game I've seen all season. There was an energy shift from that Oregon game, and it has paid off. This is the team that I was excited about, and we finally got to see it. No question, surprisingly. It was so nice to meet y'all.
Yes, I was going to say, this is my victory cannon. It was lovely to meet Sid. Sid came by the tailgate, so if anyone else wants to come by, you're all welcome. It was awesome to meet Sid. Got to meet her dad. Got to, understand where he came from. And once you see Davis, and then Sid just graduated and what she wants to do next. So just awesome to connect, and that's what it's all about. Just like going to this game, and I remember Sid asking me like, "What do you expect?" And I was like, "I'll be very honest. Like, who I am. If you listen to this podcast, I run an optimistic. I run optimistic, and I think we're gonna get this win. Like, I feel good about it, and I'm not always right about that. I'm more often wrong than I am right, most likely. But what I'm not wrong about is the fact that Cal continues to produce amazing special graduates, and it's amazing to connect with more and more people in this community. So big shout out to all the Cal fans out there, and honestly, please come out for the USC game. I know Avi just tweeted that it's bad if we have more fans in attendance, over 40K. I don't care. Come out to the game. I'm so excited. Let's beat this SE team, and yeah, let's have a party. I'm so stoked for that game.
I mean, added on to that, the player aspect of this, it's the Joe Roth Memorial Game, which means we'll be wearing our Joe Roth unis. It's the last game of the season, and it also means it's senior day. Some of these guys might come back, but we don't know if they will be. Right?
Home game. Last home game.
Yeah, last home game. Yeah, last home game. And what did I say?
Last
home game of the season. So this might be the last time you guys see some of these players like wearing the blue and gold on Memorial at FTX Field at Memorial Stadium. So yeah, you gotta come out. And on that note, there's one last question, which is from John Clemens. He asks, what are the odds Chase comes back for another season to try and build an NFL resume? I can kind of start with this. As I've said, I think I've said this on a prior pod. Some things that I've heard is that he has piqued the interest of NFL scouts, right? Does that mean he's going to get drafted? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think he falls in the top 10 quarterback list right now, but there are aspects to his game that pique the interest of NFL scouts. Now, what he decides to do with that, whether he decides to declare for the NFL draft this year and try and showcase that, or if he thinks what he's showcasing is enough, or, so on. I don't know. And Wilcox has said, I can quote Wilcox on this. They asked him about Chase's eligibility coming back next year, and he said all of the guys in that class and below who get that extra COVID year, they've had that conversation with them preseason, and they talked about the mentality going into the season, whether you're going to take it as this is my last year playing college football, or I'm going to have another year, so on. But they're going to have that. This is mid-season right now. They're going to have that conversation again with all of those guys after the season is over and what they decide to do from there. And he said that they're going to, he says the whole draft talk thing, right? Where it's like, he's going to give them all the best advice that he can possibly give those guys and move forward with that information. And they asked about the waiver, and they were like, yeah, like you still have to submit a waiver, but it's essentially guaranteed another year. So that's where we are. We'll see what happens. I think Wilcox said it right. It's not a question of they need to think about that now. Right now, what they need to focus on is getting wins. They're not going to focus on the future stuff until later. But that's where that is.
Looking at like NFLDraftScout.com and a couple of these others, there's not really much in there. It's projection, nothing for projected round.
Mm-hmm. He's not on like any boards or anything like that yet, but there are some things that people are intrigued about with his game.
I think that if you're in the top 15 of quarterbacks in college football, then you're going to be in the conversation for the next level. And, let's look at Davis Mills. Would you all be convinced that Davis Mills is that much better? Or how do you compare Davis Mills to Chase Garbers? Right? And I think that's always somewhat helpful.
Yeah.
It's not how NFL scouts look at it, but
I mean,
it's
I'm
always
looking
helpful.
at the Saints and I'm going, Trevor Siemian has carved out a very nice NFL career for himself. And I did not think he would have this type of career coming out of Northwestern. So you never know. You never know. Like, I thought Davis Webb would see the field at some point. He's yet to see an NFL regular game.
Yep.
So that's where it is. Andy, you shouted out your that's all the questions. So you shouted out the Victor Cannon. You said it was meeting everyone. I would probably argue the same. It was really cool seeing like a bunch of like Twitter people that follow us and are like, oh yeah, like I came by to like say hello and so on. It's really great. So anyone who wants to come by and say hello to us for the SC game, you're more than welcome to. Just hit us in the DMs, which, by the way, you can find us at Golden Bearcast on Twitter, at Golden Bearcast. You can find all our written stuff at Ryford, California. You can find me on Twitter at Rob11HWNG. You can find Andy at
Andy JB Smoke.
And if you're listening to this podcast, you already found us, so I don't need to tell you where to find our podcast on podcast services around the world and on the interwebs. And that's it for us. It's Beat Arizona Week. Let's go exorcise some more demons out of that damn state. And as always, go Bears.
Go Bears.
A long one.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.